Recording in progress.
Not to go out and eat out. Take out. I'll tell you about it.
Tammy, you good?
Yes, Mayor, confirmed. We're ready to go.
All right, thank you. I would like to welcome Chief Rich Austin to lead us in our invocation.
Thank you, Mayor. Let us pray. Dear wise and loving Father, we pray your blessings upon this meeting and all those gathered here today. And we thank you for the opportunity to care for this wonderful community we call Milton. And Father, during this time together, as we go about the business of the city, we pray for our elected officials, our city staff, and the community members that we serve. We pray that you give us all a sense of fairness, wisdom, and justice as we all work together to be good stewards of this great community in which you have entrusted us. It is in your most blessed name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Chief. I would like to call the regular meeting of the Milton City Council for Monday, March 21st, 2022 to order. The city strongly recommends that you review tonight's agenda carefully, and if you wish to speak on any item on the agenda, then please bring your comment cards to the clerk as soon as possible. While the Milton rules allow a speaker to turn in their comment card up until the clerk calls the agenda item, once the agenda item is called, no more comment cards can be accepted. Will the city clerk please call the roll and make general announcements?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll be happy to call roll for the March 21st, 2021 regular meeting. I would like to remind those in attendance to please silence all cell phones at this time. Those attending the meeting who would like to make a public comment, you are required to complete a public comment card prior to speaking on the item. Your comment card must be presented to the city clerk prior to the agenda item being called. All speakers, please identify yourself with name, address, and organization before beginning your comment. If you are representing an organization, an affidavit is required stating you have the authority to speak on behalf of that organization. Please review tonight's agenda, and if you would like to make a comment, please bring your comment card to me now. Demonstration of any sort within the chamber is prohibited. Please refrain from any applause, cheering, booing, outburst, or dialogue with any person speaking. Anyone in violation will be asked to leave. As I call roll this evening, please confirm your attendance. Mayor Peyton Jamison.
Here.
Councilmember Andrea Veerhoff. Here. Councilmember Paul Moore.
Here.
Councilmember Juliette Johnson.
Here.
Councilmember Jan Jacobus.
Here.
And Councilmember Rick Morg.
Here.
And for the record, Councilmember Carol Kirkley is absent. Mayor Jameson?
Yes, before we lead into the Pledge of Allegiance, we have a few special guests here tonight. And I would like to welcome here the students of the Cambridge High School Band led by Director Daniel Scott, but tonight is led by Jacob Mercer. Last Friday, they kicked off a project goal to engage community events by having a small ensembles, quartets, quintlets, events performing over 100 performances in the greater Milton, Alpharetta area. We're happy that their first council meeting performance is with us tonight to perform the national anthem, and we look forward to welcoming them again later in the year. So if first, would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and stay standing for the national anthem? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That was fantastic. Let's come up and take a picture, right, Tammy?
Wow, Mayor, that's so, we should have that every time.
I believe your sister wanted to sing.
This made me want to get there and sing. I mean, come on. Mayor, can we please get a picture with you?
Sure, sure.
And
Absolutely.
actually, should I have them all stand here in front with their?
Whatever Greg says.
Can y'all bring your instruments and just come up here?
I'm not a- That works. That was great, y'all.
Sing.
For coming.
Job well done.
Appreciate it. Great
So
job.
fabulous in here.
There you go. Perfect. Yes, it was. Carol's missing. Kick her
On
out.
three. 1, 2, 3. Good, thank you.
Appreciate it, y'all. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Thank you, guys. Very much. Appreciate it. Very good. Thank you. I feel all patriotic now.
I like it.
Mayor, I'd like to move on to our next item. It is approval of the meeting agenda. It's agenda item number 22102.
Thank you. Before we go into a motion, I have two changes to offer to council. First, we need to defer new business, part agenda item number 112, number 1, Milton Towns, to a later date. And then we need to add under new business, add agenda item number 113-A, consideration of a memorandum of understanding concerning national distributor and Johnson & Johnson opioid settlements.
Thank you, Mayor.
Do I have a
Perfectly
motion?
done.
Mayor, I make a motion that we accept the agenda changes as read.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Moore and a second from Councilmember Jacobus. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous. City Clerk, do we have any general public comment this
Mayor, we
evening?
do have one general public comment. I would like to invite Miss Mary Cronk to the podium, please.
Okay, I will, so the next item is general public comment. Public comment is a time for citizens to share information with the mayor and the city council and to provide input and opinions on any matter that is not scheduled for its own public hearing during today's meeting. Each citizen who chooses to participate in public comment must complete a comment card and submit it to the city clerk prior to the agenda item being called. Please remember that this is not a time to engage the mayor or members of the city council in conversation. When your name is called, please come forward and speak into the microphone stating your name and address for the record. You will have 5 minutes for remarks. The city encourages you to review the agenda, and if you wish to speak, to bring your comment cards to the city clerk right now. All right, first public comment.
Ms. Mary Cronk?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Mary Cronk, and I live at 600 Hickory Mill Lane. My comment this evening surrounds the strategic and comprehensive plans, along with a suggestion to help the city better manage these really important projects and share the status with the citizens of Milton. As you know, work on the strategic plan began in the summer of 2020 and was approved by Council on March 15th, 2021, so a little over a year ago. Feedback from citizens, business owners, committee members, employees, and other stakeholders was used to develop the plan to ensure that it reflected the vision and strategic priorities for our city for the next 5 years. As the plan states, the strategic plan resulted from a collaborative, comprehensive process aimed at setting our goals and how we'll know if we've achieved them. And while it's great to hear from individual department heads like Bob Buscemi, who, according to our Milton Facebook post page, says he'll be speaking this evening on the status of the short-term work programs that support the comprehensive plan, you may recall that city staff had told council about 5 months ago during the October 11th work session that a comprehensive document showing progress on these initiatives would be available soon on the Milton's ClearGov site, and that quarterly updates would be occurring in April, June, October, and January. And when I checked today, there wasn't anything publicly available showing the overall status of our strategic plan or our comprehensive plan. As we're hearing from these individual department heads, there's a really good story for us to tell about the city's progress on both of these plans, but there's no comprehensive documentation to show it. So if you want to go through council meeting agendas and you want to look at the videos or search the city's website using keywords, or look at the Facebook, or look at the ClearGov site for individual projects, I think you get what I'm saying. There isn't any one place that we can find all this information, although that was supposed to be a component of this project. Although most citizens are interested, nobody wants to go through the frustration, and they don't want to be looking at all of that just to find out what the status is. Honestly, I believe that city staff truly wants and intends to give us this information in a comprehensive document, so council has it and citizens have it. But it seems like the task is a little overwhelming for people on staff who already have full-time jobs. But my suggestion, and here it comes, and I apologize in advance if this is something that's already in place. I don't know how the other cities do it, but my experience with successful companies that have cross-functional teams with multiple high priority and high visibility projects, they often have project managers who coordinate the tasks on the project, determine priorities, helping to ensure that timelines are met, and guaranteeing and generating data. In Milton, we put so much time and effort and money into consultants to develop these plans. It seems like it would be really helpful to have people who are dedicated to actually implementing, both through documentation and just keeping tasks on course. So here's my suggestion. To help achieve the city staff's stated goals on these plans, please consider putting a professional, highly experienced, extremely capable project manager in charge of driving and documenting the implementation of the strategic and comprehensive plans. And there are other things they could do as well. As always, thank you for listening to and carefully considering my suggestions, which would benefit all of us, city staff, council as well. Am I over time? Thank you, guys.
Thank you. We will move on to the consent agenda. Will the city clerk please sound the items?
Mayor, that first item is approval of the March 7, 2022 regular city council meeting minutes, agenda item number 22103. Item B is approval of financial statements and investment report for period 4, January 2022, agenda item number 22104. Item C is approval of an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Roswell and the City of Milton regarding a cross-jurisdictional road improvement project on King Road between Kent Road and Cox Road. It's agenda item number 22105. Item D is approval of a concessions contract agreement between Wanna Play Baseball, Inc. and the City of Milton to provide concession services at Bell Memorial Park. Agenda item number 22106. Item E is approval of an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Milton and Fulton County for water line relocation on the Hopewell Road at Thompson Road and Hopewell Road at Hamby Road intersection projects. Agenda item number 22107. Item F, approval of a change order number 1 to the construction services agreement between the City of Milton and Southeast Restoration Group of Georgia, Inc. for revised HVAC equipment and additional electrical work. Agenda item number 22108. Item G is approval of change order number 2 between the City of Milton and Triscapes, Inc. to provide landscape services at the Birmingham United Methodist Church Port Wine Baseball Field. Agenda item number 22109. Our final consent item H is approval of subdivision plats and revisions. The name of the development is Robert Parish Property, located at 375 Darby Road. It's land lot 376 and 417, District 2, Section 2. It is a minor plat to combine 2 parcels into 1 tract. It's a total of 14.978 acres with a density of 0.49 lots per acre. Mayor Jameson? I know.
Almost.
I'm so excited with the band. Mayor
Thank you, Sudi.
Jameson.
Good, wasn't it?
What did
I said
see,
thank you,
just ignored
Sudi.
him.
I said
See,
thank you,
I can do
Sudi.
that.
Sorry. I would like to open it up for a motion on the consent agenda.
Make a motion, Mr. Mayor, that we approve the consent agenda as read.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Jacobus and a second from Councilmember Morg. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous. Let's see. All right, we'll move on to reports and presentations. Will the city clerk please sound the next item?
Thank you, Mayor. That first item is community development update provided by our Community Development Director, Mr. Bob Buscemi.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Before we get into the actual section update, I just wanted to bring up JC. Would you mind coming up? The JC used to be with police for many years. Well, just about everybody probably knows JC in the city of Milton. But she's transferred over to community development. She's working up front, helping and assisting REMA. So they're working together as a team now to take over the city view input and management. So I just wanted to give her a couple words and say thanks for JC coming over. She's a strong member of our team.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Bob. Everybody knows me. I'm JC. I've been here with the city for over 15 years, and I'm happy and excited to be a part of Bob's team. It is quite a lot to learn. It might take until my retirement to learn it all. But I'm glad to be here. It's a great team, a wonderful bunch of people.
Well, we're glad you're here. Thank you.
Thanks, JC. Okay. Okay, so with City View, I just wanted the council to know that we're working with Greg and Emily, who you've met, who's doing working on the City View public rollout. So I believe they wanted to wait till after the spring break, and then they schedule these public rollouts. So we'll be inviting the general public, we'll be inviting the industry, we'll be inviting contractors and whoever would like to attend to really go through the actual process of City View, how to get on the portal, any questions they have, any problems they're experiencing. We're going to be looking for a lot of feedback. We're still looking and working with City View staff to keep fine tuning and incorporating changes. So I think that's going to be a nice public rollout there. So far, we've been doing pretty good with it. Staff's really been going. I can honestly say we're 100% paperless as far as intake at this point. We're taking no more paper, and we've been scanning all the paper we have. And slowly, if you come in and walk through City Hall, you'll see all the storage bins are they're about 20% empty right now. And I'm figuring in the next couple of months, they'll slowly get to the point where they're 100% all scanned and 100% empty as far as storage is concerned. So that's a big, we worked many years to kept saying, we're going to go paperless. We're going to go paperless. But we're really, truly paperless. So that's huge. Okay, what's happening? Fire Station 42. I know a lot of you had attended the groundbreaking, so I just want to thank each and every one of you. I think it's great. The contractor came in today. He picked up his building permit and his LDP permit. And I'm working with them now to mobilize physically on site and get everything moving out there. So you'll start to see physical dirt moving around. Things are a little tough right now. We've noticed this on all our projects as far as ordering materials and getting things going. Things are just delayed. They're on back order. So we're with that anticipate. We got hit like on Milton Country Club without realizing that we were getting hit. But now that we know that this is part of the new norm, we're anticipating this. We're ordering all the products early. We're going to sit down and just start ordering almost every product in that building within the first month of the project, so that we know that it's on its way. So that's it's a little different as far as how we normally would go through things. A lot more intensity up in the beginning, but I think it's going to pay off at the end as far as scheduling. Stormwater structure inspections. I have a little slide on this, and I'll show you that. But we've been working on, in conjunction with PW staff, with Sarah's group, we're working together on doing all the MS4 structure permits, running around, inspecting them, making sure that we're hitting those targets. We ordered a pole camera, and again, that's on back order. They said probably another like 10 to 12 weeks. But we can't wait anymore because there's hundreds to do. We do about 20% of them each year over a 5-year period. And there's literally hundreds. So we've started already in March. The team's been out there and they're doing it once a week. We dedicate 2 people just to do these inspections. So you'll see them running around the city and doing them. So that'll be really, really good. Milton Country Club is all done, of course. We're just waiting for some furniture to get delivered. They told me today it was April 20th. They've been delivering some furniture, but the balance of the furniture will be April 20th, and that's when it will all be in there. So that's when we're figuring that that will be up and running as well. And hopefully the weather holds and they'll finish up the outside work. It's all weather dependent, and it's been raining all spring. So comprehensive plan, short-term work program. We had a meeting today with Steve, and we meet with him regularly on the strat plan and the comprehensive plan. I'll be giving an update to the Planning Commission on Wednesday night as well. But for the most part, we've identified all the projects, both in the strat plan and the comp plan, and we've put together a pretty comprehensive list. And just to kind of show you how it's looking roughly, it's a nice spreadsheet showing all the different programs. And just like Mary Cronk said, we have assigned each program to a project manager for accountability. Each planner in the department have 2 projects that they'll be doing. And then we'll be looking at these and reviewing what they are. And we'll probably be coming to you all on different work sessions to show you what we're doing. Each project, which I call a project, each item is a project. And each project will have tracking through the project management software that the city's been utilizing on various projects. It includes things like who are the stakeholders, what's the project schedule, what are the risks associated with this, what is the outcome that we're trying to achieve, who's involved, how do we do it, do we need additional professional guidance on it. Most of the items so far, we're doing all of them pretty much in-house expertise. So we'll be working on those. So I think we're pretty far along. I don't know if Steve wants to embellish on that, but I think we're waiting to get the compilation of all of the departments together before we actually start advertising it publicly. Okay, planner of the day. I told you last time that we rolled this out, and I think some of you have been using the planner of the day, and I appreciate it. Just keep hitting them. Just keep hitting us with whatever questions you have. Planner of the day is rolling out absolutely with 100% success. We're getting 10, 12, 15 requests a day so far, and that number is increasing every day. The more people know that it's rolling out, the more people are utilizing this function. And it's really working spectacular. We have a planner whose sole purpose that day is to take input and questions from the public, from the contractors, from you all, from anybody, from Steve. Anybody who has a question addresses it to the planner of the day. That planner then takes that information, first records who's asking the question, what the contact information is, what the question's all about. And their job is then to run around, find out the solutions, whatever the answers are to those questions. And it might span over multiple days if it's a lot. Most we try to do within 24 hours, but if not, they're responsible to follow through because they only have one day per week. But their responsibility is to follow through on those questions and get you all the answers that you need and to respond and to make sure people know that we're working on it with a response first that says, yes, we're in receipt of an email. Yes, we're working on this, and then give you the solution to what the answer to the problem. Seems to be working. And it's kind of really working great because they do a lot of cross-training. They're working together as a group. Everybody's a planner of the day, so everybody knows what it's like if somebody else doesn't help them. So everybody's working together, and we're really, really, truly getting great success. Somebody comes to the window. We don't have to sit there and run around and figure out, oh, is there anybody here to help them? Somebody's identified that day to be that person to go to the window and to assist. And I think I'm getting great feedback. Everybody's happy about how the response is going, and to be able to call up, come in, or email the city of Milton and have somebody personally there to answer, to respond, to receive, respond, and answer their questions, and to follow through. There is no more transferring phones. There's no more, I don't know who it is, or, geez, I just happened to give it to somebody because he's sitting there and nobody else is around. It's a structured program, and we keep track of everything. So at the end, I'll be able to study each month. Do we have a lot of repeat questions coming in? Is it something I should put on the web as a frequently asked questions, like a response? Is it something we should do more training to the public on? There's so many things that I can extract from this information because it's just even how many people call up in a day. I was totally amazed how many things that we're fielding in a day. Staff is taking in 10, 15 questions a day. If you think of that time-wise, that doesn't give them any more, a couple of minutes on an inquiry. So it really works well, and each planner will be tasked with this. I have 5 different planners tasked with it, and it's really good because there'll be just a lot of training involved with that as well, doing things that they normally wouldn't get involved with. So that's really rolling out very nice. Okay, Highway 9, Deerfield, really beautification. So I wrote down some notes on this one because I think it's a big topic. I wanted to make sure I covered it just right. Beautification of Deerfield. This is including both the strategic plan and the comprehensive plan. Both request that we proactively focus on the Deerfield character area. So both the strategic plan and the comprehensive plan have different work items that cross paths on this. And at the last meeting, you all approved updating the Deerfield LCI study that was about a little over 10 years old, which includes both roads and land use items within that study. While we procure a consultant through the North Fulton CID, it takes a couple of months, staff said, well, let's go out and start being proactive and get a jump on this so we can create a baseline of really what's happening in the Deerfield area. So we're starting on this baseline, and what you see here is just a sort of a spreadsheet that starts to show the business names. We have 329 businesses, active businesses in Deerfield. So just that alone, I've been here 10 years. I never knew exactly how many businesses we actually had active. By the end of this study, we'll probably know every single business owner, what it is they do, how long they've been here, and what they're looking to achieve here as well as far as business. The property address, the corridor they're on. And then we're going to start taking planners and code officials, code enforcement officials, and actually walk the corridor and look at each and every parcel and take photographs, documentation. We're going to look at building compliance. We're going to look at signage compliance, site maintenance compliance. And when we come back to the office, we're going to start taking these photos and information. We'll be able to look to see what's been approved and what isn't, to see what kind of level of compliance we're in, because that would be nice to know too. Are we 98% compliant? Are we 40% compliant in what it is we're looking to do? And at the same time, I could take all that information and inject it back into the GIS system that I told you we have Emily now spearheading just for ComDev. So she's going to then take all this information, put it back into the GIS network. And then this way we'll be able to, and you'll all be able to just hit a button and see the particular lot or the particular business, when it was approved, what the permit said, what it looks like, what is the paint there, are they doing violations, are they repeated offenders? We'll be able to see the whole thing, but more importantly, we'll really be able to create a baseline for a redevelopment for this area. What kind of architecture are we really looking at? What kind of architecture do we have? When were these buildings developed? How old are they? Have they exceeded their life expectancy? What's the expectation of people coming in to redevelop? All of this information will really feed back to us so we can be much more proactive with business initiatives for existing businesses to maintain them or to attract new businesses. We'd be able to say, look, these three lots could be combined. The buildings are old. The businesses are ailing. Maybe we can group them together. So I think it's going to give us a whole lot more information on Deerfield. Very important. Branding and gateway signage. It's another big initiative in the comp plan and the strat plan. So we're going to be looking at that. What kind of branding do we currently have? What kind of branding would help the corridor? What kind of corridor signage would help? Are we really directing people in the right areas to find the right businesses, similar to what we've done down here? So in summary, the whole process ultimately will have tons and tons of public input, and it will go through the whole process as we're looking at these things and saying what we're doing. But I think if we create a good communication plan at the end of this, and we have educational information that we can release to help businesses, notifications to businesses and property owners to kind of guide them and help them. New releases, new business owners coming in, new business packets, new business owner comes in to pick up permit to say, okay, I'm looking to do a new business. Maybe we can sit them down and say, hey, here's a nice packet. This is what you should do, you shouldn't do. This is what we're looking for you to do. How can we join together in partnership, not just to do zoning and planning, but to go way beyond that at this point, to really, really weave into the business world to say that we're partners in what it is we do in that corridor. And I think that's the way we're really going to attract strong businesses and strong growth. And I know and to keep code compliance. Okay, so I know that's sort of an off subject there, but I think it is important to, I think if we educate and teach people and tell them what it is, I think even the code compliance work, and that stems down to even property site maintenance, mowing your lawn, keeping it beautiful. If people realize what the value of all of that is in its entirety, in its whole, I think people will be more apt to do it together, and they'll join together with us and see us as a partner in that community rather than just going out there and saying, hey, you're not in compliance, or hey, you need a permit. I want to totally change the approach of what it is we do on that corridor, because redevelopment will only be strong and really occur if we partnership into that redevelopment process. And I think by doing this, we'll really hit that. And it's going to take a few months to get this moving, but I will be able to show a metric of how that progress is working and how successful we are. It's not the first redevelopment program I've done. I've won several awards nationally on redevelopment. So I feel confident that we can weave this redevelopment process together into that community and really concentrate on it and get it going. So that's a good one. And you could start to see down there, that's a little image of the GIS. And when you hit it, you're going to see all the data on it. So I think that's going to help too. And then this is the last thing, stormwater infrastructure. I just wanted you to see that this is the type of infrastructure they're checking. It's catch basins and inlets, and they go in and they see if the pipes are broken. And it's part of the MS4 reporting. It's a 5-year renewal. We do 20% a year. It's just, I just wanted you to know that we are starting this. It used to be something we consulted, like outsourced. And we took that away from the outsourcing, and we're doing it all with in-house staff. So a lot of the things that we used to do and utilize consultants for, we have turned back and now have trained and are utilizing our professional staff in-house to do, which ultimately will save money. I'm not saying I'll never come here without a request for a consultant, because there's so many things. Don't hold me to 100%. But most of the things, if we could do it with the professional staff we have, I want to give that commitment that we have transformed all of that. That was a council request to minimize the number of consultants that we actually utilize, and I think we've been successful with that. And that should be it. Any questions?
Thanks, Bob. Questions? Rick?
Just a comment. What you talked about on Highway 9, I think is great, especially having a baseline so we know, because those businesses, some of them will turn over, some will continue, but to actually have an idea of what is the sign that was approved, even having a picture, then if something does change, you actually have a record. You can go back and say, this is what was approved. And we talked a little bit also about with new businesses coming in, assuming existing structures, somehow if you link where you explain to them, here's what's required if you're going to do any changes to the exterior structure, awnings, signage, et cetera.
Right, just
I think that's great
keep
to actually
them up
have
to
it
date
in one
and
place.
yeah, and just to know even what's the typical lifespan of a business on Deerfield? There's different types of businesses, and do they usually last 5 years, 10 years? What's the life expectancy when we get these in? How often do we, refresh? Because on a redevelopment area, it's nice to know, hey, every 5 years we have a big turnaround. So every 5 years, so we could work and know that in the next 5-year period, we can implement things and it will actually be 100% renewed or 90% renewed within that 5-year period. If it's 10 years, then I'll know it's a 10-year period of renewal, because there's always a refresh. Even on these shopping centers, you'll see a lot of them. I talk to the owners, I get them in. I said, listen, guys, your shopping center is 15 years old. You want 100% occupancy, you need a refresh. This is just what the industry does. It's what people are looking for. Everybody likes to go to the newest shopping center. Think about it. Every time something new opens, everybody flocks to the new one. And then that's why indoor malls died, because all these outdoor malls started up and people stopped going to the indoor malls. And now they're refreshing those. If you notice, they're trying to refresh and rethink what we should do with these indoor malls. Office complexes and office campuses, same thing. Nobody wants them. They want work, live, play. So there's a refresh period. So we'll be able to start studying this data, and I'll be able to come back and actually report to you how often these things occur and when we should be doing it.
Yeah, I just want to say, I really appreciate you putting some emphasis on Highway 9 and the whole beautification process. But more importantly, I think it's great for the citizens in that area to know that we're looking at it. Most of the questions I get deal with mostly what's going on with Highway 9, what are we doing, have we forgotten about it? And things like this will go a long way to getting them to feel more comfortable that we haven't forgotten about them and that we're going to have a plan in place. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it. Will the city clerk please stay on the next item?
Mayor, that next item is discussion of naming plan for parks, green spaces, and facilities. Our Communications Director, Mr. Greg Botello.
1 second, this is opening. There we go. So this is the moment, not quite the moment you all been waiting for, when the former Milton Country Club becomes the former Milton Country Club, but someday soon. So first off, basically why we're here. The general big picture, we're here to explain what we think is a effective process, but we obviously want your feedback to naming not just that facility, but several others, and explain how we see the council's role in this. But kind of stepping back, okay, what do we want to do? What's our mission? We want to not just name these parks just, like Bob Park, just because. We want to actually have names on our Milton parks and facilities that resonate with citizens, offer clarity to visitors. So if you named it Atlanta Central Park in the middle of Milton, make no sense. And reflect the city's values and identity. So tonight we're trying to lay out a plan that has a few kind of goals and objectives, and you can see them here. We're going to lay out a plan we think that will provide council with viable, legitimate contenders for naming these properties. We're not doing that tonight, but we're going to explain how we're going to do that. Citizen input, everything we do is citizen input is important. And so we're going to explain how we're going to involve citizens as well as some key stakeholders involved in these. And it's going to vary by property. One of the things is that we could stretch this out over a year. We could have 8 properties at once. We kind of feel like there's a different way that we can really build energy and excitement for each of these properties. So that kind of gives them their own space, their own kind of time for these. And generally speaking, we also want to make sure that whatever names we pick align with the whole city's broader brand, placemaking, and marketing strategy, which is evolving, but at the same time, we don't want to wait for that to happen, but we still want to make sure it makes sense within Milton. So there's a few kind of key big questions that we want to help address with this plan. One is when to name a property. So I know it was about a year and a half ago, we had, I think there was about 8 green space names that were presented to the council all at once. We're suggesting a different tack. So not all at once, basically one by one. So each of them has their moment. Each of them is a worthwhile investment by the city, and each has their own kind of special place in the city. In addition to that, we want to make sure the use and plan for the property is clear first. So for example, not necessarily naming green spaces until we know what they're going to be. So for example, that Freemanville thing could be a pasture instead of a park, or could be a conservation land for certain things. It depends on what the use is, and once you actually know what it's going to be, it will help inform the name. Partly, you don't want to rename them too, if we can help it. And specific to that, we're going to try to name the namings with the milestone for that property. That can be certain things. So for example, the former Milton Country Club, when it's going to have its grand opening, hopefully soon, with the trail and the clubhouse, that's a good time to really kind of build excitement because something exciting is happening. Or whether it's in addition to something, Cox Road Athletic Complex is going to be transformed with its the turf fields and things like that. That's another opportunity as well. And this is kind of our kind of goal, is that by the end of 2025, all of our existing spaces, I'm not saying we're going to buy new ones, we might not, but our goal is to have names for all of them at least for the next few years. But we're not going to do them all at once. But hopefully that also entails in I think it's our comprehensive plan and or strategic plan about having defined uses for all our green spaces by then. So it makes sense. So how we're going to suggest naming the property. One is the first step, as we're going to suggest, is to have the public's involvement. And we're suggesting this is over a kind of a 2-week period. One is social media campaigns. We actually kind of did this a little bit before. And actually our Facebook page gets the most ideas. We're going to have a dedicated email address. If someone, we'll actually Tom will have the great end deal, but we're going to have an email address for all of these parks. Name our parks at citymilton.us. We're going to .us. That's going to, so that one, if someone has a name for this park, then just email to us. We'll have a handful of us will monitor those. We're going to also do by community emails, media releases, get them, that sort of thing. If there's an in-person opportunity, so we could be, drop a name in there. And we're also going to have specific stakeholder outreach. So things like PRAB, MGAC perhaps, Milton Historical Society. And the biggest stakeholder, and I'm going to talk about this process, is you all. I'm going to explain where you're going to kind of be part of that. And then one thing that I think we are suggesting is having little signs that will actually be at the facility. So this is for Milton Country Club. You put that in the ground. They can scan that in. They will go to the page and we'll also go to explain. You can email the address. So after that, once it's done, once that's named, we can move it to whatever the next place might be. It might be the Mayfield Park down this road, or it could be Cox Road and that sort of thing. So here's, this is kind of the process as we envision it. We would like to, rather than extend this, we would like to have 1 month of kind of focus on, Tom's showing the whole crowd. 1 month of focus. So the idea of the 2-week kind of public opportunity for people to weigh in and share their ideas. After that, we'll kind of have a few handful of names that the city staff will go over. And then that's where the stakeholders and committees and really you all, if there's a name you want for these parks to be considered in those finalists, let us know. We're going to kind of solicit that. We'll maybe have you give it a sense of what the names are out there so you know. The idea is that not to come in with one name for the property, but not to come in with 10 names because the idea is that at a month from now, ideally, it could be April 25th, knock on wood, we could actually have a name for the former Milton Country Club that you all agree on. At least there's a consensus. Unfortunately, this is a subjective exercise. It's not like a contract, yay, nay. There might be, understandably, people will have opinions, but ideally it will be something you're all comfortable with. And we're going to try to present 3 to 5 names at a council meeting about a month from when the process starts. So with your sign off, we actually could start the process this week. And so again, and then we'll kind of roll on to the next one. So the idea is actually having condensed, like basically April, knock on wood again, will be a very big month for that property. We'll have the clubhouse opening, we'll have a trail opening, we'll have an Earth Day event, which is going to be awesome, which actually times out just right with this. We'll have a public event so they can see us, and hopefully you'll have a name. So there's a lot going on, and we've all been waiting years for this. So we're excited about that. And then, frankly, we're going to repeat that process over and again for some other things. So that being said, so this is, again, our suggested for a proposed order for naming. I mentioned the FMCC. Later on, Tom and I we're not really ready to talk about whether you could name the clubhouse a name, you could name the pool a name, you could name tennis courts. We're not there yet because we think we actually need a full name first. So we're going to start with a big picture name. This park on Mayfield Road, Lake on Mayfield Road, that can be named whenever. I think that's pretty much in its final state. So there's no reason to wait on that, even though we do want some energy. The Cox Road Athletic Facility, once that's turfed over, that could be a logical next ones. And then we all have bunch of other green spaces and things like that hopefully will come online soon after that. So the idea is if we do 4 or 5 a year, that's plenty. And each of those will have their kind of moment in the sun. So those are our thoughts. And we want to get your thoughts on what you think about that process, if that works for you.
Perfect. Any questions?
The the Lackey Road property.
Yeah.
Is not on that current.
So I think actually this might be Tom, because that could be on this, but I know there's some more things planned. Is there anything, new trails or whatever?
Yeah, we need to have a green space plan that we're putting together. That's in our strategic plan. And there's going to be more at that property that's going to be developed over time. More trails are the likely scenario. On the other side of the property hasn't even been touched yet. So the idea is once we get the final use of each property, we can bestow a name on it at that point.
Any other questions? Rick?
Just a comment. I think that's great. Just a suggestion. I don't know if you have taken advantage of or will take advantage of the Milton Historical Society, because they can actually, they may have researched some of these places. Maybe there's a historical perspective that goes with it. I know the Lackey Road, there's a lot of history in there that goes back to both familiar with families as well as what actually took place in that area.
Exactly. Well, and then each of these, that goes to the point that each of these properties have a story, and we're going to try to tell that story. So the Milton Historic Society, I work with them a great deal, and they're terrific. So the idea that probably once they get the sign off, but they've done some things. They've examined some of the green spaces already, so they shouldn't be unfamiliar.
I'm just thinking that may just be one additional input with the other ones that you're
so they're one of our key stakeholders. That's what I kind of went through that, because they know Milton from the historical lens, which is part of it too. So.
Good stuff.
Great.
Yeah,
Great.
we
So
appreciate
are
it.
you ready? So
Thank you.
hopefully, if all goes well, you should, in 2 weeks or so, you can have some ideas, and then in April 25th, you could be talking about this again. So, great. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, will the city clerk please say on the next item?
Mayor, that next item is discussion of the rental policy relating to the community center at the former Milton Country Club. Our Parks and Rec Director, Mr. Tom McElveen.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, I have a presentation looking for a little guidance or maybe input on how we should approach rentals at the former Milton Country Club, or should I say, soon to be named Milton Country Club. So what's the purpose here? We want to, I guess the first real question is, what's the, does council have any interest in potentially looking into doing rentals at the clubhouse, at the country club? Yes? Okay, great, good. That's what I was hoping for. With the former Milton Country Club nearing its completion, we need to get ordinance adopted to allow for rentals at the space. And that's really what I'm here for, is some guidance on, what that ordinance may look like. So here is the former Milton Country Club. And this is the renovated floor plan. There are 3 rooms that can be utilized for rental space. And in between this multi-use room and the arts room, there is a large sliding barn door right here, or double doors. So it could be opened up into one large space. There's also the restrooms on the right side here that are accessible from the outside for the pool. And there is an office right here as well for staff. The total building occupancy is 216. And that's counting all 3 of these rooms together. And the parking lot does have 123 parking spaces. So something to keep in mind as well. Here's some pictures of the progress that were taken last week. So here we have the exterior front, the board and batten's all up now. The gutters are all in. The dining room down here is very close to completion. Here's the entry foyer. Looks real good, but the front doors are right here. And when you walk in, you see this really cool wall. Well done, Bob, if you're still here. And then the multi-use room here that is connected to the art room. There's the barn doors there. And this is a large room that would be mainly utilized for fitness and things. But it's a really very large room. And then the art room that's connected to it with the garage, the glass garage door here.
That opens up to the back.
It does.
Porch.
Yeah. So we started with our current rentable facilities to kind of look at how we could do this. We have City Hall Community Place, which is right across the way here. We have the Broadwell Pavilion, and in a typical year, we have access to the Bethel Community Center for rentals as well, but right now it's being occupied by fire. All 3 of those facilities have the same rate for rentals, $50 an hour with a 2-hour minimum. Non-residents are charged a 50% increase, which is $75. And they all have varying security deposit amounts. Broadwell has $350, Community Place has $250, and the Bethel Community Center has a $50 deposit. And it's important to note here on these rentals, it's when you go into the portal and rent the space, you can go in, pay, and it's reserved for you. Staff is proposing that with the former Milton Country Club space, it's more of an application-based rental. So you're not going to be able to just go in, secure the space, and have it. There's going to be a process that will go in front of staff and will analyze everything from parking to how does it impact the pool or the tennis team. There's going to need to be, if it's a large event, it's going to have to be a ghost town. And we can't have other events going on or programming for that matter. So that will all be taken into account for these rentals as we go through the processes. So we looked at comparable nearby facilities as well for some guidance. The city of Alpharetta has their art center that was recently redone about 4 years ago. renovated, and they have a space that has a capacity for 200. That space is $500 an hour, or $500 for a 3-hour block, and then it's $100 an hour beyond that. They do have security deposits, but it varies based upon what the event is. At Gwinnett County, there's Pinckneyville Park and their community center there. It is more of a comparable indoor space. It's a little bit smaller, but they rent that room for $115 per hour. And there's also a partition that runs through that building. You can do half the room for $65 an hour. So going back to the soon-to-be named Milton Country Club, here's what we have recommended for fees. A reservation would secure access to all 3 rooms. Why do we want to do all 3 rooms? Well, we want to ease ourselves into it. I can see many scenarios of multiple rentals going on at the same time, and they're all in the same space. And you might have one group with loud music, and it's bugging the other rental. Or we might have programming going on in one room. We don't need to be renting the room next door. It'll interrupt the programming, or vice versa. I mean, it might be a fitness class in one room, and you might not want to have a rental next to the music going on in the group exercise. And then there's also the shared space that you got to think about too. There's the back patio. How do you grant access to one rental and not another, or one program and not another, to that open space out back? So staff's thought is just if the building's unused by any programming and it makes sense for the rental to occur, you can rent the building. So our proposed fees, the refundable security deposit, we have a hefty $500 security deposit. It's a beautiful building, and we want to really encourage our renters to take care of it. The Milton rate would be $150 per hour with a 2-hour minimum, very similar to what we have at our other facilities. And the non-Milton rate would be $225 per hour in our proposed rental fees. And that is all I have. If you have any feedback or questions.
Jan?
Have you talked to any of the HOAs about their rental space?
I have not, no.
Okay, you might want to do that. For example, at Crooked Creek, we charge one fee during the week, and then we charge another fee on weekends. Your rate is very reasonable. Actually, I think it could be a little higher and stay busy. Are you going to have tables and chairs that are in a storeroom that people can pull out and use?
Yes.
Or are they going to have to bring them in themselves?
No, we'll have tables and chairs available.
Enough.
Rental tables and chairs aside from what Bob has ordered. They're like the plastic, the rental style.
Okay, so it's easy for them to roll out and set up themselves type of deal? Okay.
Paul?
Tom, on the security deposit, is the way that's written where that's the requirement to secure the room, but is there the way the clause is written where if there are damages above and beyond the 500 that the renters would be subjected to
Yes.
whatever those repair costs would be?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I like it. Good plan.
Looks really good. I appreciate it. And I think maybe to Jan's point, maybe we start low, and then if the demand's extremely a lot, then we always up it, I guess.
Yeah, I'm open to feedback.
It's gonna be a beautiful
on the
place.
rental rate. But
The only thing I would really urge is that after each event, you have somebody that definitely walks through and looks. It is amazing to me how inconsiderate some people are when they rent a space. And once you give them the deposit back, getting
It's over.
anything, it's over.
yeah,
So we usually wait 3 days before we give anybody a deposit back, and we make sure somebody goes through and looks pretty closely. And we urge them to go through and look at the place before they rent it, so that they're not charged for somebody else's faux pas.
absolutely. Yeah, we have a member of staff who's actually here tonight, and she checks all of our rentals, even at Broadwell Pavilion and Community Place here after each rental.
Yeah, because they just,
verify.
they abuse it. I mean, it's amazing. we-
Tom, I was just curious, have you considered charging a cleaning fee after each use? And just with my experience renting properties across the country, I mean, you're always charged a cleaning fee at the end of the week, just to kind of do a clean sweep of the whole property.
Yeah, we talked about that. With all of our other facilities, we've not really had an issue with the cleaning post rental. We do have a cost in our contract with our cleaning company that, they give me a price for doing a full building cleaning. In that, when we do the inspection afterwards, if it needs a cleaning, it would be charged to the renter.
Okay.
Great.
I think it's smart that you're starting out saying all 3 rooms, and then once you get some experience of who's renting it, what are the capacities? I think that's a great way to do, a safe way to do it.
Are all those rooms under camera?
They will be, yes.
Okay.
They aren't right now, but I already have a system that's in there. I just need to put the cameras up. It's
Okay,
wireless.
great.
Sounds good. Looks great. Is that good enough feedback for you?
Yes,
All right,
it
perfect.
is.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it.
Ordinance will be coming.
Thanks. Okay, so we will move on to the first presentation. Will the city clerk please sound the item?
Mayor, that item is consideration of U22-01, VC 22-01, located at 13275 Cogburn Road by F.H. Schindler, Inc., doing business as Mayfield Oaks Senior Living, to request a use permit for alternative senior housing, Section 64-1844, and a 3-part concurrent variance. Number 1, to allow 4 handicap spaces to be in front of the house, Section 64-1844, 2F1. Number 2, to reduce a 50 feet undisturbed buffer and 10 feet improvement setback on northern line to 25, Article 20, Section 2.3.2A. Number 3 is to reduce a 50-foot undisturbed rear buffer to 30-foot, Article 20, Section 2.3.2A. It's agenda item number 22111. Mayor?
Thank you. I'd like to open up for a motion.
Make a motion, Mr. Mayor, that we approve the first presentation as read.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Moore and a second from Councilmember Moore to approve the first presentation as read. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous. So we have no items under public hearing, zoning agenda, or unfinished business. We will move on to new business. Will the city clerk please sound the items?
Thank you, Mayor. That new item is consideration of final plats and revisions. The first development is Milton, the first one has been deferred to a later date as approved in the beginning of the meeting. Number 2 is Little River Estates. It's 1040 Taylor Road, land lot 663 and 706, District 2, Section 2. It's a final plat for 15 single-family lots. It's a total of 27.49 acres with a density of 0.545 lots per acre. The third development is Lakeside at Crabapple Revision. It's at 980 Mayfield Road, land lot 1099 and 1134, District 2, Section 2. It's a final plat revision to revise the lot lines, lots 60 through 69, to conform with the redesigned building lines and rectify a road name to match the approved name, Baldwin Drive, shown on the addressing chart. It's a total of 13.76 total acres with a density of 4.959 lots per acre after the TDR transfer and credit purchase. It is agenda item number 22112. Our land development manager, Ms. Tracy Wilds. Mayor and council, I do have 2 plats for your consideration tonight. The first is Little River Estates. Little River is located off of Taylor Road. It's just north of the Taylor Road and Batesville Road intersection, and it's across the street from the Valmont subdivision. It is a 15 single-family lot development on a total of 27.49 acres. It has 3 common areas which contain stormwater ponds. There is a gang mailbox area on the development. It is gated, and there is a private access and fire access to the existing gravel drive located on the east side of the property that leads to the Little River Farms event venue. It will not be gated, but the development itself is gated, and it will be for just fire and private use only. Typically, minimum lot size in AG1 is 1 acre. These lots are a little bit bigger. The smallest is 1.3 up to 1.8. One of the work items on our comp plan is to consider increasing the buildable lot line on developments. Right now, it's at 100 feet. The consideration would be to revise that or increase it to 150 feet. And this is a great example of a development that has large building lines. In fact, all of the lots, except for the ones along the cul-de-sac, exceed that 100-foot building lot line. So when you enter the development, it's really going to feel like they're really large lots because they do exceed that 100-foot minimum building lot. Some site photos of the development show all of the stormwater ponds, as well as the mail kiosk. The entrance signage, the entrance columns, and the fencing in the gate. Very rural example here at this development. All of the plans that have been submitted do meet the requirements of city code, and I'll be happy to answer any questions on this development.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment?
We do, Mayor. We have one on this one.
Okay.
I would like to invite Mr. Scott Reese to the podium.
Good. He has something to say about it.
Mayor and Council, I'm Scott Reese of Bromwell Reese & Associates, doing business at 13685 Highway 9, Milton, Georgia, 30004. This is one of our design subdivisions. We tried to work with the existing topography in the land to generate the best proposal that we could to minimize impacts and create a marketable property for the Ivy family that have owned the property for some 75 years. We're pretty happy with that. My main concern was to be able to answer any questions that you might have. Not really. I think Tracy did an excellent. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. If not, thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
That is all, sir.
Okay, so I'll close the public hearing and then open it for council discussion. Questions? Paul?
For Tracy or for Scott, it's planned to be gated. So does that mean the development will be responsible for the roads? Milton will not take ownership of those roads?
That is correct.
Correct.
Is this what used to be kind of the north end of the vent facility, where the woods and everything was?
Yeah, it was at one time, George Ivy had a very large farm there. The Atlanta National Golf Course is part of that the Ivy Farm. It was Little River Farms. It was a dairy and all. His passing, multiple heirs, and it was split among those. This is part of that former tract, but it was under a separate ownership via the settlement of the estate. So I'm hoping it was part of the Ivy Holdings, but there is a separate entity from the ownership standpoint with the tax, or I'm sorry, with the will.
So this is kind of.
It's adjacent to, it is exactly north. It is, yeah, it will share a common property line. So hopefully that answers. So.
Any other questions? Okay, I will open up for a motion.
I've got one more plat. Yes,
Oh, you
can
do?
we move
I'm
one
sorry.
more and then we'll do it?
I'm just rocking.
You
Sorry.
are. You're on top of it. The next final plat for your consideration is one that you've seen before. In fact, you reviewed it as it was presented last year, Lakeside at Crabapple, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with. It's located at 980 Mayfield Road. It's currently under construction. It has an entrance off of Heritage Walk and an entrance off of Mayfield. And this request is for a revision to that final plat that was approved last year. The first request is to revise the lot lines between lots 60 and 69, which are highlighted in the yellow. There were field adjustments that caused these lot lines to be shifted approximately a foot. So this plat accurately represents where those lines are at. So that's the first revision. The second revision is Baldwin Drive. The plat approved last year indicated that the name of that road was Baldwin Road. So this plat revises that to Baldwin Drive to match. So very minor in nature. All of the plats and information that have been presented do meet the requirements of code. And I'll be happy to take any questions on this plat, if there are any.
Thanks. Do we have any public comment on this one?
Not on this one, Mayor, we do not.
Any questions? Paul?
Tracy, can you go back one slide, please? So does this, was there a commercial zoned parcel at this corner at one point?
So not at this parcel that I'm aware of.
Okay. I may be remembering something different, so, okay. And then,
I know what you remember.
Now, if you do
Paul.
remember the civic space, which is where the lake is
We
at.
tried at the planning commission a long time ago, but it never was.
okay. Yeah, because this is a better,
Oh, okay.
this is a better solution anyway. So, okay.
I'm sorry, the commercial piece is actually across the street on the west side of the
Oh,
road. It
alright.
was all one big lot. And what we did was we created the commercial. That's going to be the gateway. They're
Yeah.
coming in with plans on that already. So I'm starting to look at that architecture. But so it's right across the street. If you look directly across to the left of the,
It's
where the
right-
little
it's
arrow is
right
right
here.
there.
Yeah, okay.
That's the commercial piece.
Yeah, that's what I
That was all one big piece of property at one point. And then we added the road. They actually donated that land area to the city for that road.
Thank you.
Is that where they used to have, I think, the Milton small engine repair? I think they used.
That's still there.
That moved to a different building, but I think originally it was right across from Charlotte, right?
Okay. Any other questions, discussion? Okay, we'll open for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve agenda item number 22-112.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilmember Johnson and a second from Councilmember Morg to approve agenda item number 22-1. Let me make sure I got the right thing. 12. Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Okay, City Clerk, please say on the next item.
Mayor, that next item is consideration of an agreement between the City of Milton and Itasca Walk LLC for temporary use of 12630 Crabapple Road, Suite 340, Milton, Georgia, as an assembly hall indoor auditorium use of property. It's agenda item number 22113. Our zoning manager, Ms. Robin McDonald.
Good evening. So tonight, I'm going to be reviewing a request for temporary use for Assembly Hall Indoor Auditorium. It's located at 12630 Crabapple Road, Suite 340, which is the third floor of the building. It's zone T5 of the Crabapple Form-Based Code. And as the city clerk stated, the applicant is Itasca Walk LLC. Oh, well, I guess it didn't do from beginning. So basically tonight, the objective is for you all to consider the request for the temporary use of the Assembly Hall Indoor Auditorium on Crabapple Road. When the Crabapple Form-Based Code was created in June 2012, a use permit was required for an Assembly Hall Indoor Auditorium, but was not created at that time. Based on this unique situation, the request by the applicant is a one-time occurrence. Itasca Walk began considering the Assembly Hall Indoor Auditorium in July 2021 to operate out of 12630 Crabapple Road. So if you just look at my cursor, it's the third story, as well as including this outdoor space terrace area. And then when you look at the map, it's right there at the corner of Itasca and Crabapple. We went ahead and created the use permit, and you all adopted that use permit on February 7th, 2022. In the meantime, soon afterwards, Itasca Walk submitted the application for the Assembly Hall on March 3rd, 2022, and will proceed through the normal set of public meetings to seek approval of the use permit. So the next meeting is actually tomorrow, the 22nd, for the Community Zoning Information Meeting. The DRB is April 12th. The Planning Commission is April 27th, and finally would come to you for a final decision of their request on June 6th. So the applicant is requesting that the mayor and city council allow them to operate this Assembly Hall indoor auditorium. The activities would include Bible study groups, corporate meetings, private events, beginning on March 22nd, 2022, and ending on the earlier of A, June 6th, 2022. B, the date that the use permit is withdrawn, or the date the city issues a decision regarding the use permit, i.e., if you would so choose to defer it from that June 6th date. Some of the proposed restrictions for the temporary use. In general, it's the same restrictions that are required of a use permit that they're going to be seeking concurrently. The hours of operation shall be limited to Sunday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., and Friday and Saturday, 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. Deliveries to the property shall occur no earlier than 7:30 a.m. and no later than 7:30 p.m. And then also, no amplified sound shall be permitted except within a fully enclosed structure. So there wouldn't be any kind of amplified sound on the outside terrace area. The number of attendees at any one time shall not exceed the maximum occupancy shown on the certificate of occupancy. As of last Thursday, they had not received their certificate of occupancy, but based upon the building plans, the max occupancy would be 240 people. Also, no alcohol shall be permitted to be consumed on the property, including the outdoor portion of the property. This is an additional condition we made to the application, just not knowing, what would go on. Now, if they get approved for their use permit, there would be opportunities for them to be able to serve alcohol. But in the interim, we're asking them not to have any alcohol. Lastly, this is an at-risk agreement, and stating expressly, Tascawak expressly recognizes by execution of this agreement that its use of the property as an Assembly Hall indoor auditorium during the term of this agreement shall be at risk, and that the city's agreement herein does not in any way obligate the city to render a decision either for or against the use permit, and that the city shall retain full discretion to render a decision on the use permit in the compliance with the zoning ordinance. So in fewer words, this is basically just because if you approve this agreement does not, you're not required to agree to the use permit when it comes before you in June. So with that said, I'm here for any questions, and if it gets really legal, I'll just give it over to the city attorney, so.
Paul?
Robin, I know that they probably have something in particular that they're trying to do this for. I imagine they've got a potential renter already.
So my understanding of it is that they would have various different groups, but I cannot answer what those groups or particular renters would be at this point.
That may preclude your ability to answer my next question, which is, do we know what kinds of, when it talks about deliveries, what kinds of things may be coming and going? If I think about that building, I don't recall it having a freight elevator. It's just a standard elevator in that building. And
It has a freight elevator.
That's a freight elevator.
Oh, it does have a freight
Right
elevator.
next to the steps.
Okay, so then maybe that resolves the question too. I wanted to make sure that there was an ability to move whatever it might be coming and going, separate and apart from normal elevator traffic that would be available to the other patrons in the building. So you've addressed my concerns. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Do we have any public comment on this?
We do not, Mayor.
Okay, so I would like to open up for a motion.
Make a motion, we approve agenda item number 22-113.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Jacobus with a second from Councilmember Verhoff to approve agenda item number 22-113. Any council discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Okay, will the city clerk please say on the next item?
Thank you, Mayor. This item is the one that you added at the beginning of the agenda approval. It is agenda item number 113-A, consideration of a memorandum of understanding concerning national distributor and Johnson & Johnson opioid settlements. Our city attorney, Mr. Ken Gerard.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, let me discuss this with you. First of all, let me explain why it's added as a sort of a walk-on item, not on your published agenda. The Open Meetings Act does allow that for us to have items that are not on the published agenda, but typically there has to be some sort of a temporal-based necessity for that, and there is one here. We've got a clock that's ticking, and this is something that if the city of Milton wants to sort of, forgive the colloquialism, get in on this, we need to do it now because we've got a deadline by March 31st of this month to opt in, if you will. Now, what is this? This is a resolution of two large opioid-based class actions that have been brought by the various attorney generals of the states against opioid distributors, et cetera. I'm sure I don't have to tell you all, this has been ongoing for years, this notion that the certain entities have been sort of just loading up the market with these opioids, causing all sorts of health issues and mental health issues as well. This settlement involves two of those, I'm going to call them class actions for lack of a better word, one with the what's called the national distributors and one with what is called J&J settlements. All right, so let me explain what it means. What it means is, and many Georgia governments are opting in and want to opt in by this deadline, the various settlements should result in the state of Georgia receiving $635 million of settlement proceeds paid out over a series of years with respect to these various state attorney general settlements. And I don't like to typically read when I'm giving a presentation, but if I don't read, I will mess this up. So I'm going to read very quickly. Of that $635 million, 75% will be put into a state-administered trust, of which 40% of that amount will be spent on a regional basis, attempting to deal with the opioid crisis. Again, my word, crisis, the opioid crisis. 25%, however, will be allocated directly to governments, including the city of Milton, if we in fact opt in. Now you may say, okay, well, what's the bottom line? How much will we get? I don't know, because a lot of it depends upon the numerator and denominators, how many governments are in fact opting in. I would suggest to you that the city of Milton's portion could be sizable. More than $1 million, more than several million, I'm not sure. Several hundred thousand, absolutely, perhaps as much as seven figures. What can it be used for? Another reasonable question. The answer is all of this is in the documentation, but it can be used for almost anything that you can conceive that would help mitigate the opioid crisis, to include assisting with our first responders, ensuring that we have the drugs on our first responder units to be able to address individuals, even working with faith-based communities to address and hopefully achieve prevention and mitigation. It's a huge list, and it would take a lot of this evening for me to go through all of it. Let me just suggest to you this, in this respect, that city management will be able to use this. I am very comfortable in a way that is meaningful to the citizens and residents of Milton, and in a way that affects what we don't like to think of, but certainly issues we have even in Milton. And that would even go to first responder training, et cetera. So bottom line is we have a deadline, and here's how it works. If you take the action tonight, and I'm going to read you the motion I would hope that you'll take if you want to do this, it basically has us entering into a memorandum of understanding with the state of Georgia. And that MOU signifies our approval of the two different settlements with the distributors. The state of Georgia then has to adopt, by way of legislation, what's called a litigation bar. And they have to do it by like June of this year. And if they adopt that litigation bar, that means no government in Georgia may sue these two distributors on their own, right? Because it's a bar. And that means that all the money that is Georgia's portion will go to the state of Georgia, and then it will, of course, be distributed to the various localities. Mr. Mayor, that's the presentation. This is a substantive action that you could take this evening to opt in and enter this MOU with the state of Georgia. I do think if everything works out, the amount of money will be substantial. I do recommend, as I have recommended to other clients, that you participate in it. But I can't tell you a specific number the city will receive.
Okay, thank you, Ken. City Clerk, do we have any public comment?
We do not, Mayor.
Okay, well, I'll close the public hearing and open it up for any council discussion or questions for Ken.
Ken, just to clarify a couple of things. So the city could not sue either of these entities for this. There could be other circumstances which might produce a lawsuit, not likely from the city of Milton.
Right.
But the exclusion is only for the reasons this was currently settled on.
That's correct.
Wouldn't preclude us from any other suits.
That's correct.
And the second part of clarification is these dollars have already at a higher court level been determined that it's going to be, the penalty is already, the companies that were the offenders have already been subjected to the penalty. This is the payout against that penalty. So
I think the number, that's correct. I think the number has been set. The amount of distribution will come in over time. So it's not a lump sum. They'll be generating it and sending it out over time. But right, and of course, this is a little bit beyond because this is being handled at a national level. But what I can tell you, my understanding is that there has to be a critical mass of states that opt in to do it to make the resolution acceptable, right? Because if you're the distributors and I only get a couple states opting in, I'm not going to settle with y'all because it doesn't give me finality.
Right.
But if enough critical mass opt in, then it will in fact be this sort of mass ending of this litigation. So that's why I think it behooves everyone to go ahead and jump in and do this.
And I don't see a downside to this. The money's going to be there. What a great opportunity for the way our community is affected by the sadness that comes along with the opioid situation. If it can fund programs and we can support our Milton Fire, Police, Rescue, first responders, I think this is as sad as the situation is, it's an opportunity for us to capitalize on things that might have otherwise not been available to us.
That's right. Exactly. Well said.
Any other discussion? Okay, I'll open for a motion. I guess we'll need Ken's help on that.
Can I try? And again, if the council is interested, it would be a motion to approve the MOU with the state of Georgia regarding the national distributors and J&J settlements with authority for the mayor to execute all necessary documents.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve this opportunity based on the language that read to us just a minute ago by our city attorney.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Moore and a second from Councilmember Jacobus to approve agenda item number 22-113A. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That is unanimous. So we will move on to mayor and council reports. I will defer my time to ask Stacey English to give us a quick update on some House bills that are coming through.
Sure, I'll be happy to. So the House bills that we had, that Representative Jan Jones put before the House for the homestead exemptions that were approved back in December, they failed to get the vote they needed, the 2/3 vote they needed in the House. So she asked for reconsideration. She kind of gauged the land, I guess, to see if they would have a chance at coming back and being approved. There's some partisan issues with local legislation, and so she decided to pass it over to Senator Albers, and they are now considered Senate Bills 628, 629, and 630. They are not subject, local legislation is not subject to crossover, so they are still alive in the Senate right now. I'm not sure when they're going to be brought before on the Senate floor for consideration, but I'll continue to look at the calendars to see when they come up.
Thank you. Yeah, I think the way it works is all local bills are kind of being held up, and so hopefully they all pass towards the end of session is kind of everyone's hope. And then is there what's the update on the rental one, the for rental? Is that dead on
Senate Bill
arrival?
494 and House Bill 1093, I believe, were the two that were, it is dead right
Okay,
now.
good.
Now they still have a chance to come back before the legislation next year because it's a 2-year deal, I believe. So I'll be continuing to watch those. We'll continue to use our legislative advocates with GMA and ensure that our local, our feeling, our opposition to these bills continue on into next year.
Thank you. Any other council reports? Okay, we'll throw it to the chief. He was giving some tips back there to the trombone players, weren't you?
Yeah, that's right.
You don't know, he's a longtime trombone player.
Yes, I am. Yeah, the group sounded great. That was a nice touch this evening. Well, greetings. Looking at our crime and crash picture, we are in pretty good shape. Our crashes are relatively on par from this time last year. As far as our crime picture, we're up about 80 offenses from this time last year, so not too far off. Out in the community, we participated in the Fulton County point-in-time homeless population count. And this is a yearly effort to assess the total number of citizens experiencing homelessness in our community. And the count may assist when the county applies for funding, and is also an opportunity for us to connect positively with these citizens to make them aware of services that might be available to them. There were only a handful of folks located in our immediate area. They seem very appreciative of the contact and the information that we shared with them. Along with our city manager, I had the opportunity to attend a meeting with our district attorney and her team, along with several other government officials, to talk about ways that we can collaborate with the DA's office to keep North Fulton safe. It was announced that the DA's office has assigned a North Fulton liaison to assist us with any concerns, and she'll be serving Milton, Alpharetta, and Roswell. So overall, it's a very positive meeting. In February, we also participated in Summit Hill Elementary's Kindness Week activities. A lot of fun there. Summit Hill selected the police department to share their kindness with us by writing handwritten notes of appreciation. And they also bought the entire department Chick-fil-A breakfasts. So very, very great day for us. We're very appreciative of the kindness expressed by the Summit Hill family. One other item I'd like to share involves a very significant de-escalation grant that we received last year. In the way of an update, I'd like to share with you a brief video that we'll soon be sharing with our citizens on social media.
In January 2021, the state of Georgia announced that they were accepting grant applications for use of force and de-escalation training for law enforcement officers. The Milton Police Department applied for this grant, and in May of 2021 was awarded approximately $119,000. This money was allocated for the purchase of a use of force simulator and also for defensive tactics training.
The simulator that we purchased is a use of force de-escalation simulator where we can have our officers come in and go through realistic scenario-based situations that are also interactive. So officers can focus on use of force decisions and also interact with this device to where they can de-escalate the situation as well to have a more successful outcome in some of these scenarios. So the defensive tactics portion of the grant is where we partnered with a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym to use as our facility and to use their expertise. We're not doing BJJ in its classic form. We're just using some of their techniques and some of their skills to develop a program where officers can be more comfortable and confident if they are having to go hands-on with somebody. And the reason why we're doing this, and the end goal, is to give our officers those abilities and those skills. So if they have to protect themselves, they can protect themselves using their hands versus having to escalate the situation into other force options. With more training, our officers will decrease injury to themselves and also decrease injury to suspects because of the use of proper techniques when subduing a suspect.
In December, the state of Georgia opened up the application process again for the fiscal year 2022. The Milton Police Department applied again, this time requesting funds for continuation of the defensive tactics training, for some defensive tactics mats, and for some additional officer wellness training. We were awarded this go around approximately $39,000, which will allow us to purchase these services and this equipment and continue the defensive tactics training through the remainder of 2022.
So we decided to put the simulator in the newly formed Milton Alpharetta Training Center, which is located in the old Alpharetta Courthouse in the heart of Crabapple. We chose that location because we've been taking more of a regional approach to our training efforts and combining efforts with the city of Alpharetta. They had the facilities and we had the equipment. So we have a dedicated room to where the simulator is set up 24/7, 365. Instructors can take officers in at all hours. We can even take officers in there in the middle of the night while they're on shift, one at a time, and do scenarios with them whenever we have some extra time.
So we wanted to share this with our citizens and let them know that we do actively look for resources outside of tax dollars to fund initiatives. We also wanted to show how the MPD has led the region with this innovative training, which fulfills our city's core value of leading from the front and two of the Milton Police Department's core values of professionalism and excellence. And with that, that's all I have this evening, unless there are any questions.
Any questions for the chief? No? Thanks, chief.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, that will do it for tonight's meeting. I will have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, a motion from Councilmember Moore and a second from Councilmember Moore. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you all.